Hey, I'm Jess, part-time hobbit, and I'm here to talk to you about Tolkien. I'm recording this intro after I watched the show because I was so excited to watch the show that I forgot to record an intro. I didn't get that much footage of me actually watching it, but I did take a short video every time I cried while watching these first two episodes. So go ahead and drop your guess on how many times I cried right in the comments below. And with your guesses locked and loaded in, let's roll those clips. I'm 3 minutes and 30 seconds in, and I have already started crying a little bit. I can't tell if it's just cause I'm excited about the show that I'm crying or cause I'm really tired. Y'all, it's getting me again. I'm like 22. I'm officially 22 minutes in. The second time I'm tearing up. Oh boy. I made it into episode 2, but oh man. It's not even tears of sadness. It's like consistently tears of like, oh my god, we get to see X, Y, or Z realized. He wants to say hi. I don't even know what got me this time, but something did. Something sure did. Okay. So, it got me one more time, but the episode's almost over, so it can't get me again. Okay, I apologize for video and audio quality right now. If you hear rats crunching, that's because they're eating pasta. I just finished the first two episodes. I'm gonna start by saying that I definitely enjoyed it, and I want to see more. That definitely doesn't mean that it was perfect. I was kind of hoping and a little bit expecting that I would have this big emotional, like, coming home feeling, kind of like I do when I watch like the Peter Jackson movies or pick up the books or something. And I didn't get that. I just didn't. And maybe we'll get to a point where I become attached to this show in a different way. One of the things I was worried about as more and more was coming out about this show in terms of the design aesthetic, I wish that they had chosen to go in a totally different direction than Peter Jackson. You guys know that I really love the Peter Jackson adaptations and I love the design aesthetics in there. They really established a fairly singular language for how people interpret Middle-earth, but there are a lot of different ways to realize Tolkien's world into physical art, and I wish that they had used that to their advantage and created something new rather than kind of half-heartedly executing Peter Jackson's vision. Because it didn't look as good as Lord of the Rings did. It was a lot more polished, which I prefer my show aesthetic to be more gritty. And the thing is, even in the parts that were like gritty, like when you had the halflings and that sort of thing, there's this thing in costuming where people are like making like street urchin characters, and so they apply the dirt to the cheeks and do like makeup under the eyes and throw leaves and twigs and stuff in the hair. Some of the aesthetics that they were trying to make less polished kind of looked like a high school performance of Oliver. That's mean, but it was a little put on, and I don't have an exact answer for that. I think that just comes with a level of attention to detail that can be hard to carry through on really big productions like this because we have so many moving pieces, and keeping track of how a costume is weathering and aging over time, that takes a lot of attention and care. But just putting people in roughly woven fabrics and putting dirt on their faces does not effective weathering make. I think that the writers were out of their comfort zone when it came to writing the dialogue of, in particular, the elves. This wasn't as much of a problem with halflings or the humans or any of that. It really was just elf to elf. They were trying to do this kind of like quasi-Shakespearean elevated classical speech, which I definitely understand the intent behind that, but it just wasn't super well done in my opinion. Oftentimes it fell into this pattern of feeling like every line that elves exchanged with elves was this like 2012 aesthetic Tumblr quote in the making. In terms of writing, these first two episodes were also a lot of setup. It was just setting up and setting up and setting up, and then ramping up the stakes for that setup, and then setting up something new, which I do understand because they are trying to open up this incredibly vast world, and I know that there's still more that they're gonna try and open it up into, which I admire that, but when you kind of front load that and don't let the stories that you're setting up begin to live as you introduce these new plot lines, it is hard to latch onto these characters. And that's not to say that I didn't care about these characters. I have definitely started to like a good number of them. Elrond and Galadriel especially, and I know that they're kind of pushing them hard as main characters, especially Elrond. I legitimately do quite like him. I find his performance and his writing to be quite likable, even if the writing of his dialogue is a little iffy sometimes. Thus far, they have done a very good job of setting aside the different worlds that we're existing in. Even just with the music and the scenery, you're immediately able to establish where we are, which I really appreciate, especially in a story that's as expansive as this feels like it's going to be. The fact is that this doesn't feel that much like Tolkien yet. It's hard for me personally because I'm feeling that way, but I also have to keep in mind that my opinion of like what Tolkien is also deeply formed by the role that Tolkien has had in my life. Peter Jackson's movies came out when I was 2 or 3, so Peter Jackson's vision of Middle-earth has literally always been a part of my life. I've had all of these things marinating in my brain for so long that they've taken on a life of their own. So I definitely understand why people wouldn't like it, but I also really like fantasy TV, and I'm not a harsh critic. I'm enjoying it, and I'm excited for more. I'm super curious to see what all of you think, because I really think this show is going to resonate with every person very differently. If you're coming here to see a continuation of Tolkien's universe as you remember it, I don't know that you're necessarily gonna be happy, but if you're coming here because you like fantasy television and you're willing to have an open mind about it, I highly recommend it. I am gonna be putting out more content about this show probably in another couple of weeks. I want to give it a week or 2 of rest just in case you're not here for Rings of Power content. I'm very excited about the costumes and design for this show, especially because the comparisons between this and Peter Jackson and the original text are really cool because they're all kind of morphing off of each other, and I'm big brain right now, but yeah. I just think it's so cool that the biggest budget television show of all time is a Tolkien adaptation. I just think it's such a testament to the way that these stories have shaped our culture and the way that we tell stories. And you know, you may disagree with me, but I think there's a lot of love behind this story. If not love for Tolkien, love for storytelling, love for creating, and I find it very hard to not think that that's pretty cool. Thank you all so much for watching. I will be back next Thursday with my regularly scheduled content. Make sure you let me know what you're thinking in the comments below, and subscribe so that you don't miss a single one of my videos. If you'd like to donate a couple of dollars to the channel, the link to my Ko-fi virtual tip jar is in the description below. And with that out of the way, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope that you all have a very happy Hobbity day.